the secrets that make us sick. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge. So let's have a conversation on this time. We're taking it out of the box, yeah, yeah. We're taking it out of the box. We're taking it out of the box. You know it's time. So let's talk about it.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Tuesday night at 7 p.m. for Outside the Box. Well, we are doing part two of this segment that was created in the mind of my boy Q Tyus, called 21 Questions. And I've invited my boy Pastor E on to participate in this one. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I know Eric is coming for me in these questions. I'm already ready for it. I know that's what he got planned, and so I'm prepared for it. I told my wife, I said, "See, Eric has known me for 40 years, almost, 30 years, whatever it's been." And I said, he gonna try to come for me, so I'm ready for him. But I'm gonna tell you what I did in preparing for him to come for me. I got some questions to come back for him. So if he go light on me, I go light on him. He go hard on me, I go hard on him. That's just how it's gonna work. All right. What's up, Pastor E?
What's going on, Bishop? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I am good. I'm good. Hey, it's been um, a crazy year. Before we jump right on in, it's been a crazy year with this pandemic, man. A lot of things have changed. And I was reading even beyond the pandemic, just about change. I was reading a post from a Facebook friend of mine, and she was talking about how different Austin is just as a whole from how we grew up here. Austin is really, really different and increasingly becoming challenging for long-term Austinites to continue to live here and make a living here with all of the gentrification and all of that. Even regular businesses that we grew up with, man, they no longer exist here.
Right. Well, it's definitely not the Austin we grew up in when we first met.
No,
Everything about it has changed. Yeah.
everything about it has changed. All right, Jones, let's jump right on in.
All right, let's go. Now, because you're my friend,
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna be as hard on you as you
No,
think.
go for it. Go
Um,
for it. I mean, start slow, but go for it.
but it will be interesting. I do have some interesting questions. I'm actually asking you questions. So let me tell you how I pose my questions. I've been
Okay.
knowing you all of my adult life, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there are literally some things. There's some things that I don't know about you, and so
Really?
there's some things that I want to ask you. Yeah, there's some things I don't know, and so
Okay.
not personal things, because everything personal about you I know, but some
Right.
things about how you think, what your thought is on some things. So let's go. You ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
So you've been preaching. You've been preaching over 25 years.
Over
After
30.
experiencing everything that you have, if it came without spiritual penalty, would you do it all over again? If you
Hmm.
had a get out of ministry free card,
That's
would
an
you do it all
interesting.
over again?
Honestly, probably not. I probably wouldn't, because this was not my first choice of things to do. So I probably wouldn't. No. Um, and if I'm gonna just be real, I'll tell you why. Loving people hurts you. When you love people, that opens you up to be hurt by them. And over the course of 34 years, I've had a lot of personal hurt dealing with folks that are not even related to me. So probably not.
Got you. Okay, good, good. Actually, that answer surprised me. So let's move to number two,
All right.
and and it's kind of your answer, part B.
Okay.
How has the call of ministry affected your life positively and negatively?
I mean, positively, I'll be honest. There are. I would say the positives vastly outweigh the negatives in the sense that to see the impact of what I have been able to do over all this time, impact and develop and grow and change the lives of people that I've had the opportunity um, to be in contact with, or people who have heard my ministry from avenues other than me being right there in front of them and I know them and interacted with them, even just getting emails and Facebook messages and messages on our church site just saying, wow, this really changed me, this really blessed me. So um, having feeling like that I am making my contribution to what God put me on the earth to do has been extremely positive, and it's allowed me to. I mean, I have ministered in crowds as small as 5 people, and then crowds as large as a couple thousand, and it's allowed me to travel to places that um, I probably would never have gone. So there's been a lot of positive things, and and like I said, and while I could certainly again talk about the negative portions of it, really, it's just the thing that I know you have to identify with as being a pastor. Loving people can hurt.
That one I agree with you on. So I pretty much, yeah. So here it is. Let's get into it then. Let's get into it then. How has ministry affected you financially, positive or negative, and negative?
Well, let me tell you, when you are
Before you answer,
uh-huh,
before you answer, let me give you a disclaimer.
okay,
The disclaimer is there is a frame
okay,
that pastors are put in which people think is the lifestyle of the pastor financially. So, with that being said, according to how a lot of people see pastors financially, how has ministry affected you financially, negatively or and positively?
well, let me tell you, the viewpoint that a lot of people have of pastors and preachers living this grandiose life because of the church and because of ministry, that's for a select few people that you see, on television and all of that kind of stuff. Here's the reality. That's not my testimony. Okay, so I don't have this financially. Beautiful life because of ministry. I will say that it has, in real fashion, affected me a lot, probably more negatively, when you're responsible for making sure everything is taken care of. So a lot. I've always been My wife and I have always been the largest tithers in our church. We have always, uh, not that other people don't give, and that's not what I'm saying, but when the buck stops, it stops at you making sure everything is taken care of. So I think that the fantasy or the fantastical view of pastoring that some people will have is not the reality of what the majority of pastors experience. Even those that have larger congregations, it's still not the fantasy that most people typically peg us as.
Okay. Question number 5. I know you to be a crossover pastor. If you look at my circle, 95% of the pastors I know are black.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing you, you cross over a little bit easier than I do, and you are more involved with non-black pastors. What do you feel about the Southern Baptists not speaking out against the lack of racial equality,
I think it's deplorable.
racism, the killing of black people?
I think it's deplorable, but I think it's also symptomatic of a larger issue that um, people, a lot of the pastors who, and I'm not trying to take it here, but you asked the question, so I'm gonna just go ahead on and say it how I think it. But you gotta remember a lot of the pastors who were promoting Trumpism and his and that whole evangelical wing of people, the majority of those people come from the Southern Baptist Convention. It's interesting. I read an article yesterday about Dr. Dana Carson, who used to pastor here and then moved to Alvin, and now he's in Houston. Um, there, he had a struggle to buy two pieces of parcels of land and buildings that were Southern Baptist owned buildings. And part of the struggle was because he was the exact opposite of who they are, both from a color perspective, from a belief perspective, and all of that. And so I guess to sum up the answer to your question is I think it's deplorable, it's despicable, and it's expected for Southern Baptist pastors to not speak out about it because their white congregants would not be happy about them saying that killing black people are wrong. And but you also got to understand um, from our purview, this is where we get the white blue-eyed Jesus. So this is where we get the narrative that that we're black because God cursed us. This is where we get the narrative that the Bible supported slavery in the sense that it did. So, of course, I'm unfortunately not surprised, but I'll tell you, it's a damn shame that churches and pastors don't speak out about social issues that are real. This is not a figment of our imagination. They're killing us carte blanche without any of the voices that should be saying this doesn't represent Jesus, standing up and saying something.
The reason why I asked that question is because someone attempted to chastise on me for speaking out publicly on social media about it, and as if it doesn't belong in the church. And I believe the church is the first place we should start. You know, and so that's why the question came up. Let's get it. Let's get at it. You ready?
Hold on, let me. Can I add some more
Yeah,
to the answer?
yeah. Please do.
Well, and here's what gets me is that folks think that social issues don't belong in the church. But I've stated this example before on one of the other shows, but it's just blaringly clear to me Jesus's approach to social issues. I mean, you got to think about it. When he was out preaching and his disciples told him that folks were hungry and it was time for him to send them away so they can go eat, Jesus didn't acquiesce to that foolishness. He dealt with the social issues of the moment. The
Right.
folk were hungry. And so he said to them, why you want me to send them away? You feed them. And then let's take
You
it
feed 'em.
further. Let's take it further. He didn't he not only did he say you feed them, but then he got actively involved in the process of feeding them. Because watch what happens. He took the only stuff that was there. Now this is gonna shock me almost. He took the only stuff that was there and he blessed it and broke it. And every time he blessed and broke, there was enough to feed somebody else. Here's what you got to get, Jones, is that Jesus didn't just talk social action. He participated in social action. You on a delay.
Man, should open up the doors of the church there.
Lord have mercy.
You are too. So yeah, and it is delayed. So I don't know what the deal is. So anyway, so I must admit that I used to be afraid to bring up social conversations in the church that had to do with race because all of my audience wasn't black. Until I got to the point to where I had to realize I literally pastor a black church. But here it is. Even if I did pastor a multicultural church, right? I still owe it to my black congregants to stand up for them, you know?
Absolutely.
And so, no matter what you say, wrong is wrong, right?
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
I've come to the notion that you're not offended, you're just convicted. And it makes you uncomfortable. But just imagine how uncomfortable we are. Imagine being uncomfortable for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That's uncomfortable. And so that's what I want to get your view about. I want to see how you felt about the fact that evangelical white pastors say nothing about the treatment of black people in our country.
I
So
like what Pastor
go ahead.
Jason. I like what Pastor Jason says. The community is the gym where the love of God gets a workout. Man, Pastor,
Absolutely.
you are on top of it right there. That's it. That's it. All right. I'm sorry. I
I like
interrupted.
that. I'm gonna have to steal that. You ready? Let's get
Yes, sir.
interested. I'm gonna start asking you the questions that not I want to know, but that I think the people want to ask.
Okay.
What is your spiritual and or personal position about pastors drinking alcohol, not water? Matter of fact, let me have a drink on that question.
you gonna have a drink on that question. Okay. Here's the
I'm
deal.
having a drink on that question.
I think honestly, I think too much is let me see how I want to say this. I think too much is often put on us in the church trying to find reasons to condemn somebody else's lifestyle. I think too much emphasis is put on us in, child, did you hear? Girl, did you see? And this expose of like even the Kirk Franklin thing, how all of that just kind of popped off and this, that, and the other. Listen, I do not personally believe the Bible condemns drinking. I believe the Bible condemns getting drunk, but I do not believe the Bible condemns drinking. So if you want to have you a cocktail, I think that's your business. Now, to keep it going a little further, where you have your cocktail might be something you need to think about, right? Because of the appearance, because of the potential backlash, because of the misunderstanding it could provide. But in terms of whether or not a pastor drinks, I don't really believe that that's anybody's business or any of that kind of stuff. And I don't personally think that there is anything wrong with it. Let's see. Our evangelical churches seem to have a vested interest in the status quo. They simply condemn the social behaviors which benefit them. Absolutely. 100%.
Absolutely. Okay, so I didn't mean to have a part B to this question, but you brought it up.
Oh,
So
Lord.
I personally don't believe that drinking is a sin. I personally believe that the biggest party known to mankind, the biggest party is known is when Jesus turned water into wine, right? And it
But
wasn't
you
unusual,
don't have
nothing like that, right? So
you don't
I
have
personally don't believe that, right? Now I know you just said something about. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say,
I thought you said something.
it, it's so funny that you bring that up because I remember hearing a comedian talk about when Jesus turned the water into wine. I can't remember who it was, and he was like, "All right, now let's let the party begin." Like it was something. But you'll have people like
Let's get the party started. D.L. Hughley, yeah, yeah.
I have some real spiritual, real holy friends who told me, no, that was just grape juice, or it was unfermented. Look, I'm not going down that road. That's a ridiculous path to go down. I'm not doing all of that.
I don't even believe the fact it's not even possible for it to be unfermented. Okay, anyway, so I'm gonna leave that alone. Let's move ahead. Because we can go there. Because I almost went there. And so I
Michelle
don't want to
says
go there.
the pastor should drink.
Shoot, baby, listen. But so my concern is, Bishop, watch this. I think people are ill informed, and it's based on what they've been taught growing up. I don't think nowhere did they learn in the Bible Sunday school, anything like that, right? I just think it's something they've been taught, right? So then when you say, well, you have to be careful where you do it at, right? So is it your job to monitor somebody else's spiritual growth?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. Because the Bible talks about being careful that we don't provoke other people to sin. So some things that are not sent to you could be sent to somebody else. And so if somebody sees you as an example or a representative of God do something, they could think that it's okay to do, but they don't have the same grace to survive it that you would. So while I would say, I think the short, uncomplicated answer to the question is, on some level, yeah, we are responsible for what our witness looks like, to the extent, though, that we can't control what other people think, right? They're going to think what they want to think. They're going to believe what they
Right.
want to believe. And so at some point it comes down to that. But the reality is, I think we should just be careful. Pastor say, at 52, I really do want to pair my $65 steak with a good wine rather than Kool-Aid for the glory of God is Kool-Aid.
Okay, let's go. So before I ask you this question, let me preface it by asking you this. Do you even know who Derek Jackson is?
No.
You don't, right?
No.
Okay, so I didn't know who this guy was until yesterday. So apparently this guy, so this question is totally irrelevant now. So this is a guy who has a great, huge platform, and he basically gives relationship advice to men. But I watched a few videos where he really
Oh,
condemned men.
is that the guy that's on TikTok?
I
And
don't
and
have
the
TikTok.
women call in and be like,
No,
I want
that
to.
ain't him. That ain't
Oh
him.
no, that's
That ain't him.
Kevin somebody or other. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't worry about that. Okay, so we'll move on because if you don't know who he is, this question is totally irrelevant. It was just a today's type of person. Here you go.
Well, I
Do
did
you
see a
think?
video of this Derek Jackson holding apparently his wife's hand, and
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
commenting that it seemed very forced. It seemed very like she was uncomfortable, that he was a secret wife beater or something like that. Were the
No, he cheated on
speculation.
her. But if you don't know who he is, the question becomes relevant. None of it makes sense. Let's
Okay.
move on. You ready?
Yeah.
So, well, I'm gonna ask this next question anyway. Okay,
Okay.
it's kind of a bounce off of the last question that I didn't ask, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Do you think, given their position, so I'm gonna say it again. You ready? Do you think, given their position, that pastors should be easily forgiven for adultery?
I think the same level of forgiveness that a normal person would want should be afforded to a pastor. Now, because here's the problem, Jones. The problem is folks put you on the pedestal and then they want to destroy you when you fall off the pedestal. Well, I didn't ask to be on the pedestal. So the same level of forgiveness that you want for your stuff, I want for mine. Now here, now again, to kind of stretch it, let me say everybody has the responsibility to be honorable and respectful in their relationships. Everybody has a responsibility to live their life according to the precepts and guidelines that are established for Christians to live. The reality is there will be failures on everybody because that's the reality. But I just hope for the same level of restoration and love, because here's my problem. Church folk are so judgmental, it is ridiculous. Church people are the least forgiving people of all, but require the most forgiveness, which
Forgiveness.
is amazing to me. How you are the least forgiving, but require people when it's you to be the most forgiving. So all I have to say is, I want you to forgive me the way you want me to forgive you. Now, should you expect me to do better? Yes. I also expect you to do better. So we need to expect, there has to be this expectation that each of us has for each other to do better, to not make the mistakes, to not fall, to not this, that, and the other. But when we do, to love each other enough to restore us.
Okay, let's tighten the screws a little bit. Let's tighten the screws a little bit. You ready?
Uh-huh.
If you were an active pastor right now, what stance would you take on homosexuality in the church?
Now that's them the kind of questions I was thinking that them the questions that I've been expecting you to try to throw at me. Now you want to play hardball, don't you? That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. Okay. All right, I got you. I got you. All right. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Listen, I think I'm trying to see how I want to phrase this. Mm, 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 mm. I think it's important. I'll say it like I said this the other day. Um, my grandfather used to tell me you can't clean a fish until you catch it. I think the church is doing a horrible. Let me say that again. A horrible. Let me say it one more time. A horrible job at representing Jesus, who wants to love people towards their growth and their development and their all of that, because we are pointing fingers and saying you're going to die, you're going to go to hell, you're going to suffer, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. I think that as it relates to, I told you before when I first started pastoring Emmanuel, There was a lady who, a Caucasian lady who came to church who wore jeans with her shirt tucked in and a tie. Was I going to tell her that she wasn't welcome into church? Absolutely not. Because here's the problem. True evangelism and true discipleship and true conversion and all of that kind of stuff, those things happen when you love people, not when you criticize them, not when you judge them, not when you stab them, not when you beat them. Nobody wants that kind of relationship. And so my stance would be, look, you are an adult. Here is what God says. Here's what the standard of living should be. And I am not going to tell you you can't come here, you can't serve here, because their salvation ain't mine. Their salvation don't belong to me. So I don't need to decide if they're worthy or not to be a part of God's church. I don't get to decide whether or not they're worthy enough to be a part of God's family and his love. So look, that's just it. You know, I don't have any, I guess my direct answer is I don't have any judgment for them. I don't have any judgment. Pastor Rudy says, let people do them. If they are faithful to the work, the conviction will make the change in the person. Pastor Jason says, I've lived all my adult life in ministry. The perception, expectation of perception is more than any human can bear with or without the Holy Ghost. I agree with that 100%. Simple question, it's a sin. I condemn all biblical sin. That's great, Kevin. That's great. But while you condemn all biblical sin, and we all should condemn biblical sin, here's the reality. We don't want people condemning us because their sin is different from ours. So if we condemn all biblical sin and that makes them an uninvited, unwelcomed part of the church community, then the church should be empty, because your stuff, my stuff, Joan's stuff, Rudy's stuff, Nate's stuff, Liddy's stuff, Jason's stuff, all of our stuff should disqualify us from being a part of the family. That's not how God.
Right there, real quick. So watch the tone. Watch the tone. Watch the delivery. So stance number one: I do not support the Democratic. I do not support the Democratic transportation of how they support homosexuality. Right? I do not party over Bible. Right? However, the problem with the church comes with stances just like that, right? So we condemn all biblical sin, right? But really, in reality, we only condemn sin that is either public or personal. Because if you condemn all sin that's biblical, then you have to literally condemn all sin. The problem with some people that are judgmental people, Bishop, and I know this is, I'm probably asking you questions, but the problem with most church people, right, or judgmental people, right, is they want to pick and choose the sin that they want to condemn. That's the problem, right? And so let's just say you condemn it. Cool, right? But you can't come at people who are at fault. You can't come at people who sin, right, and treat them, right, as if they're the worst human beings ever. Because you do know that homosexual is no different than an adulterer. The homosexual is no different than the fornicator, right? But we want to put homosexual on the stage.
Folks don't accept it, Jones, and I'm gonna tell you, I had, and I'm not gonna name names because that's not me. I'm not messy like that. But I have a friend, a pastor friend, who told me he believes in his heart that God would rather you be a hoe than a homosexual. What?
No, yeah. You just have a friend. You don't have a pastor friend. You just have a friend.
Because here's the other thing. If we're going to condemn sin, I'm in a bad shape because I'm fat.
Right.
And my fatness is proof that I've overeaten, that I've been overindulged, that I haven't taken care of my temple. So that makes me then in the same boat as the homosexual. Here's the problem. Here's the thing that I think we also miss is that sin is sin, but the consequences are different. So the consequences of my sin in terms of overeating is I'm fat. I got diabetes, right? High blood pressure. That's the consequence of my sin. The consequence of some other sin is something else. Now what we're seeing, the consequence of homosexuality and lesbianism and all of that kind of stuff, their consequence seems to be the public lashing and disdain by religion. That ain't God, man. That's church. That ain't God.
But that's because homosexuality comes with a look. Fornication don't come with a look. Adultery don't come with a look. Overeating don't come with a look. You know what I mean? People don't want to get their hands dirty with the homosexual. They don't want to touch them. They think they're from another planet and this, that, and the other. When people come to the reality that sin is sin, right? And just because you sin differently than somebody else, right? There's no level or degree of sin. You know, sin is sin. So anyway, let's not stay there because it'll be 9 o'clock and we'll still be on that. You ready? Let's go. You ready? They're gonna get a little bit easier, Pastor Bright. What
Okay.
is your favorite meal?
Look, enchiladas and fajitas. Them right there. I
Those are your
salivate.
favorite meals.
I salivate over some good enchiladas, and I'm mad that Uncle Julio's is no longer in town because they enchiladas were amazing. However, Lupe Tortilla has some very good fajitas. Shine.
Yes,
Oh,
they
Lord.
do. Yes, they do. Therefore, he was the other Bob. Glory. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Uh-huh.
This is what I wish everybody was watching when I ask you this one. Have you ever been high?
As a kite. No, let me tell you. Let me tell you. It was the last time I smoked weed was in March of 1986. I was 16 years old. And you want to know what made me stop smoking weed? Is back then there was when you used to buy a dime bag of weed, the dime bag was half of like a sandwich bag that you put your sandwiches in. I don't know what the pricing structure is these days, but I smoked that dime bag of weed by myself, and I remember
Oh, you
leaning
was
on.
high.
Oh, I was real high. I remember leaning like this on my grandma's dresser, looking at myself in the mirror and laughing for about an hour and a half, uncontrollably, right? And after I came down from that high, I said, I ain't smoking no more weed, never, no more again. Because if it makes you do this, I don't need it. No.
Okay, I'm gonna rush through these. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna skip one that I just had. Okay, and so here's my next one. Do you like pig feet?
Absolutely not. That's up the devil. Mm-mm. I don't do pig feet. I don't do hog maws. I don't do hog head cheese. I don't do chitlins. I don't do none of that. Mm-mm. And I remember when I was growing up,
Okay,
uh,
next one.
we had a corner store called Double R, uh, and I and I would go into Double R, because you buy candy and stuff, and they would have a jar with pig feet right there at the cash register with pig feet in it, screwed up, and this pink and yellow and green looking liquid. It was pickled pig feet. No, sir, not for me. No.
Okay. I had a feeling that's where you were gonna lean. Next question. Who is your favorite current pastor?
Current pastor. Wow, that's interesting. Um, uh, is there any kind of qualifier
No.
like preaching or or teaching or how they
Feel
live their
free.
life.
Feel free.
Okay. My favorite current pastor. Hmm. I have really come to admire with great admiration Dr. McQueen. I just think he is an all around honorable man. And I think he's a great, great, great man. She said
From Austin.
piglet and coon. Uh huh.
So McQueen from Austin.
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. Okay. Good.
Uh,
So
Liddy says, Liddy says, what made you ask about pig feet, Pastor Eric?
I knew it was just a different type of question.
Just a weird question.
That's all. Just a different question. You ready? Who has
Yeah.
had the greatest impact on your life?
You know, me and you were kind of talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Um, for various reasons, I think James Sutton really had um, an impact in my life, and some of those are good and some of those are bad. But for the most part, I think he had um, probably the most impact, especially as it relates to ministry for me, because I was so young and so new, and his approach to study, his approach to sermon preparation, his approach to always being ready, I think was an asset. Uh, so yeah, I would say him. Now, if you ask me who my favorite uh, pastor that's no longer here, I'm gonna tell you, and I really hate that I forgot this when Q asked me last week about my Mount Rushmore preachers. But let me tell you something. That Gilbert Earl Patterson could preach.
Oh my God. My God.
That Gilbert Earl Patterson was amazing. He was an amazing preacher.
Okay. So we share my group. The people that made the greatest impact on my life will be my dad and James R. Sutton. As a matter of fact, I have a picture of both of them on it. They're both dead and gone now. And it says, "Because of you, I am." And so that is my favorite picture because those two people have the greatest impact on me on my life. You ready for this? What does Tony mean to you?
Man, let me tell you something. And I don't say this just for likes and clicks. And let me tell you something. That woman is truly the most amazing thing that God ever brought into my world. Um, Tony is an incredible wife. She's an even more incredible mother, incredible grandmother. Who she is as a person, how she thinks, how she operates, what she does. Um, she means everything to me. I mean everything. Uh, I I did not know that there was a capacity to love somebody to that extent. I didn't know that that kind of capacity existed.
Were you about to cry?
Yeah. So I just decided to be quiet.
Okay, listen. Let's have some fun. You ready?
All right.
Now, the last few questions I'm about to ask you, if you answer these wrong, I'm gonna lose total respect for you.
Oh Lord.
You ready?
I'm ready.
John P. Key or Kurt Franklin?
John P. Key.
You ready?
Yes.
Voices of Christ or Resurrection?
Resurrection.
I have to call that one a draw. I just can't in good faith answer
I
that. I
know.
just can't. I can't in good faith answer that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Anointed praise or inspiration?
Yeah. I had a different level. Inspiration was the bomb, dude. Inspiration was the bomb. Inspiration was the
Okay.
bomb.
Who snores the loudest? You or Tony?
Tony, 100%. 100%.
Now,
No,
the last two questions.
to the extent that we were in bed the other night and I was laying on my back on the so if you're facing the bed, I'm on the right hand side laying on my back. She's laying on her left hand shoulder in my ear, and I had to hunch her. Hey, you need to turn over. I can't even sleep because she's snoring all right here in my ear. Hi, baby. I
Yeah.
see you on the comment. Hey.
So, Roy, here's a question all America needs to know. And I
Okay.
want you to know before I ask you this, people across the country, across the world, are relying on you for this answer.
Oh my God.
This is a time for you to step up and really help your Black community. If you are truly a Black African American like you claim.
Okay.
The question is, does sugar go on grits?
Here's the problem. I don't eat the grits, but my wife would tell you emphatically no. Salt, pepper, and butter. Period. And the same with rice.
And the same with rice.
Salt, pepper, and butter. No
I
sugar.
don't believe anything you just told me about Tony.
Why?
Mm-mm.
Do
I'm
you put
questioning
sugar
your
in
whole
your
calling.
Do you
Mm-mm.
put sugar in
You
your
have
grits?
failed. You have failed the African American race. Absolutely. Hey, absolutely. My soul just got happy right now. My soul just got happy.
Oh
My
my
soul
God.
just got happy. Yes, God. Yes, God.
Okay, I know that was your last question, but I have
No,
to
wait.
put
I got a bonus
question
question.
to you.
One bonus
Okay.
question. A real short bonus question. And I need Tony to be watching this. You ready?
Yes.
Back in 1992, I loaned you $10. When am I getting my $10 back?
The devil is a lie. In 1992, you chauffeured me after my wedding to San Antonio for my honeymoon.
All right, let's go, Bright. Let's go. Let's go.
All right. You know, I'm gonna start with a question that Pastor Nate Banks put. No, that ain't it. I'm gonna ask you the question since we didn't have time. Would you marry a same-sex couple who were members of your church?
No.
All right. Question number 2. If you were stranded on an island, who would you want with you? One person.
Wait, if I was stranded on the island.
Yeah, if you were stranded on the island and you had to have one person with you there, who would it be?
Wait, so that's like tricky. Am I gonna die or do we have a possibility for survival?
Hey, whichever scenario you want to peg it as.
Rachel.
All right. Why did you change the name and really the feeling, the reflection of what Emmanuel Baptist Church is, and now it's Emmanuel Bible Church, the Church of Love? Why did you change the name? Oh, why did you change the presentation of
Because
who the church?
I grew up Baptist. I grew up Baptist, and I remember being told that if you touch the communion table, you're going to hell. If you walk across the pulpit, you're going to get a whooping. I remember all the rules and regulations and all the this and that, and I couldn't operate in freedom. I could not pastor in freedom like that. I was taught how to preach, how to deliver homiletics, homiletics, 3 points and a hoop. And I think it taught me so much. Being involved with a denomination can almost be borderline racism to me. It just depends on what your race is against, right? And so I just want us to be a Bible substance church. Whatever we do is from the Bible. not without any type of other permissions, any type of associations, any type of none of that stuff. I just want to be able to pastor in a free environment without regrets, without rules, without restraints, and without permissions. And so, as long as we are a Bible church, it does not matter what else is on the side.
And although we moved on from it, I guess I should have answered the question because I'm assuming Nate meant the question for me. My response to the question is no, I would not marry a same-sex couple as well. That's my answer to that. Here's the last question because this probably is going to take us a minute. Tell me what your thoughts are on the mass killings that we've been seeing, and not just the ones this week and last week, but in general. What are your thoughts overall about the mass killings?
So, I'm not really one to sugarcoat anything. And so, when you look at the mass killings, you have to look at them as they are. You can't dress them up. You can't, I just think we have spent the last 4 years giving our country permissions to hate other people, you know. And so if let's just be real. If that guy was black, he'd be sitting at King
He'd be
Tears right
dead.
now,
He'd
you
be
know.
dead.
And it's
He'd be
crazy to me how all these black people are being killed, huh? Yeah, he'd be dead. And I'm trying. It's amazing to me that how all the black people are being killed for this, that, and the other. And we're talking about Roy getting pulled over, for little stuff, and half the time innocent of everything, guilty of nothing. But you can go and kill all these people, and for some reason they they get out alive. The most impressive thing I've ever seen is when Cedar Park, Texas, had a guy, and I believe he was black, but I don't even care if he was black or not. He was a standoff. He was in his house. He had hostages, right? And APD called him and asked them, "Do y'all need assistance?" And Cedar Park was like, "No, we don't want you guys to come because we want to take this guy in alive," right? And the way they handled it, and they brought the guy out alive without killing him, right? You don't have to kill people. You just don't have to do it. But I think as it relates to the mass killings, right? I think we've got given people, a certain group, so much power to hate that now they're taking it upon them own selves to kill people they don't like, right? As if we're in the wrong country. They're defending their country, but this country ain't even theirs. They stole this country. This country don't even belong to them, right? But they're defending like it is, like it's theirs. And so I just think that we're in an evil place in this country, an evil, evil, dark, evil place. And I would hate to see what happens if other races start fighting back. And so I think, you
Wow.
know, I think it was all, I think it was all encouraged. Let me say that. I think it's all encouraged.
Yeah, one of the things, and I guess one of the things that really struck me is that there's all this hatred towards anybody that's not white, you know, and yet almost all of the mass killings that have happened in our country have been white men who have perpetrated them. They haven't been Mexicans and from drug dealers and all of that. That the lie was about people across the border. They haven't been Muslims and people of that persuasion. They haven't been black people. They've all been white people. But
Picture me this, Bishop Bright. Picture me this. You can't even fathom it. This is so unreal that you're not going to be able to fathom this in your mind. Just give it a good old boy's effort, right? Imagine I went to Lakeway and walked into their local Walmart, a black man, and just began to shoot and kill for no reason other than color alone a bunch of white people. Can you imagine the history that it would mark in this country for white people. I would never be forgotten. People will hate me. They will hate everything that was associated with me, everything I was connected to, and they will hate more black people because of me. But I promise you this, Roy. I promise you I'd have never left Lakeway alive.
In a
I
body
promise
bag, you would have been in a body bag.
in a body bag.
Yeah.
So I just think it's just a telltale sign of where our country is. It's sad because what they don't even understand that as black people, we're not even hating you back. We're not hating you back because you
We
hate
just
us.
want to be alive. We just want to live.
Bro, and I'm gonna say this and I'm done. I was at Home Depot, seen another black guy in there one day, right? This was right after the George Floyd murder. And I said, hey bro, how you doing? His response to me, Roy, I'm just trying to make it home alive.
That's sad, man.
That's what he told me.
That's sad. That's sad.
That's sad. Just trying to make it home alive.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Look,
Yep, that's where we are though, buddy.
We got a great topic next week. We're going to be talking about relationship, the life, living together, sex before marriage, and there was one other thing. I can't remember my title. I'm sorry, that's not next week. That's week after next. So in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about relationship. Thank you guys for being on. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. I will see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central. Same bat time, same bat channel. All right. Bye. Thanks, Pastor.
Peace out.